Really appreciate the time today, Kristina.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And it's great to be here. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to have this chance to share my experience and learn more and listen to other podcasters and the other individuals, your guests who have been on your show before. And just to know that you can reach out and listen to this kind of podcast is really great experience for me, even as an employment counselor and as a professional and as a person in general. So
Oh,
I
well,
love this. So, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here today.
oh, thank you
So,
so
for me
much.
personally, the whole process has started when I first arrived to Canada, not having to have the language skills. It was really difficult to get accustomed because at that time we didn't have the same number of people arriving as we do today. And that was really a huge change being new in a country. I was a teenager in high school, and during that time I was not sure what I was going to do with my career. And I feel like in many ways education has always been an important part of my life, because it was instilled in me by three generations prior to myself, of teachers who communicated that the value of education in general. And I kind of grew up with that, having to attend music school and then school and make sure you do well and learn and study. And then with time, I knew I wanted to do more, but what to do was really a big question. I remember having to look back at my childhood later on and think about what it is I enjoy doing. And sometimes these themes, they pop up, they come up. And but as a newcomer, you forget, because you oftentimes just look at under your feet. What is the next step? How you're going to help them pay the bills? I came luckily as a teenager where my parents had to burden that responsibility of paying bills and figuring out where to live and what we're going to have for dinner and so forth. But for myself, it was just to learn to study, to find myself and help in any way that I could my family. And so many today are experiencing the same situation. So
Absolutely.
my kind of purpose in life was born as a result of my struggle of trying to figure out my career path, educational path, what to do with myself. And during that time, I remember myself forgetting that. So and that's why I have done a lot of research in past, having to try to figure out what to do next, where to go, just taking courses and just kind of going with the flow a little bit, and attending university, finishing up after I completed a year of college and graduated from there. And then I decided to go into completely different field. I only entered employment counseling recently.
Okay.
And yes, I went to chef school and
Oh,
private chef school, and I did that. And I love my job, but I felt like a huge part of who I am was not activated in the process, because I felt like I needed to be in a helping profession. So having to transition, so I understand the struggle of having to switch careers in the middle of your life, as it's no longer serving you fully and you don't see yourself doing it for the rest of your life, because it's really difficult work. You're on your feet a lot, odd hours. And I am an example of it being possible,
that is
this
amazing.
transition and change. Thank you.
Oh, that's incredible,
So
Christian. I'm always happy to hear, what the backstory behind getting to where you are today is. And that's a super tricky transition because high school is tough enough as it is. And to have come from abroad and have to jump into a high school environment, I can see that being extremely difficult. And so it's incredible to kind of hear that you went from that to, trying to figure out what it was you wanted to do and that you reflected on childhood to figure out those things you enjoyed, because it sounds like there's a couple different things. So, even music, for instance, do you play instruments and that kind of thing as well?
I do. I sing for myself. I sang in a choir, and it was part of the general education. And I play piano. But
Well,
now I just do this for myself, because
right.
this is something that I enjoy, and it's kind of a form of therapy for me. when I have a chance to sit down and I play by ear. And it's really something that I enjoy doing.
Oh, that's amazing. Well,
Absolutely.
I asked just out of personal interest because on the other side of this screen is a piano that I play on, and I've also
Amazing.
learned by ear. So always kind of cool to hear and meet someone else who's interested in music and that type of thing. But you mentioned something kind of early on, when you were telling me your background that I think is really going to resonate with people, and that is that you had to take time to figure out what you enjoy doing. And I think a lot of people actually are in the same position, kind of like you said, right? They are lucky to have an opportunity to, not have to just worry about putting food on the table, and that's the case for others. And it's completely understandable that in that situation, maybe it's less about what you like and more about what you have to do. But when you do have that opportunity to, reflect on what you want to do, did you find there were any tools or ways you went about doing that to figure out kind of not only what you liked, but how you were going to pursue it? Because I know you said you reflected a bit on childhood, but I'm kind of curious what happened from there.
Well, I would probably have to say I have kind of now that I work with clients, I determined that there are certain steps that you would need to take in order for you to figure things out. And there are a lot of tools available to support you and help you out. Um, Several years back when I was in career development professional practitioner program, I found an assessment that I have done while I was in high school, and was
Oh,
called Who Am I? And it was sometime at the end of your high school years that you would be doing this. Today we're doing this in grade 10. It's called Career Scores, and I arrived in Canada after that was already completed at the end of my high school career, so to speak.
right.
And it was astonishing for me to see the results because it took me years to get to the answers that I received on that career assessment test. And I did not know the validity and the value of those assessment tests because they really do give you an overview. I mean, by no means is this an exact science where it's going to tell you this is what you need to do. You have to do a work on yourself and try to figure out who you are, understand yourself, figure out what you like, what you don't like, pay attention to your interests, your values, and kind of combine all this together. But it does give you a little bit of an overview in what you want to do. For me, for example, I received answers in counseling, psychology, social work, guidance counseling, employment counseling, um, teaching, a lot of teaching as well. And today's role, having to do employment counseling, I get to have all those areas covered. I teach how to write resumes. I conduct workshops. I love public speaking, and I get to enjoy to do this in public with multiple individuals present. And this helps me to be able to satisfy many of these kind of jobs in some capacity. So it really does help me, and it kind of activates a lot of these jobs in the current role that I have in employment counseling.
Okay, that is
And
really interesting to hear. Yeah, and maybe what I could do
absolutely,
is, oh, pardon me.
absolutely.
Oh, yes. Well, what I'm hoping is maybe after this, I can connect with you. And if you can share links to some of these assessments, I can make them available to the viewers watching this. If you're curious about the Who Am I survey, maybe we can find that and make it easy to get to. Because I think that's interesting, right? That you could find out answers that might take you years to discover on your own. And you kind of have to do both, it sounds like, to really come through with an answer that's right for you. And it's not necessarily one way or the other that works, but I think those assessments can be really insightful. So that's a great tool to
Absolutely.
make us aware of. Um, the other thing you mentioned is having to transition between, completely different fields, from going in the chef's role that you were in to a new industry. Do many of the job seekers that come to you, um, are they transitioning from kind of one field to another as well?
Sometimes, because I work predominantly with newcomer population, we service everyone. I work in a nonprofit organization at the time at this time, and we also provide current role is in employment and settlement, so it's kind of one-stop shop. And there is a lot writing. on having to connect with the client, build trust, because it's important to be able to provide um, service to clients. And I feel in many ways that you deal with clients of all walks of life. Some that are transitioning from one job to another. Some are just coming young and never worked in their life. And some may be youth, Canadian youth, and may have arrived here very, very young. So you work with everyone really. But in many cases, I get to share my experience as well, in hopes that it kind of helps them transition as well, and to show them that I'm a live example that the change is possible. It is not going to be easy, and I believe in having to connect with clients authentically. So as a result, I do not sugarcoat the experience. It's going to be difficult, and education is key to improvement of one's life. I do truly believe that, and taking courses, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to go back to university or college. It can be something along the lines of some form of training, some kind of webinars, and it's a growth that you go through in having to seek education, information, and upgrading. And I feel like this is something that really is going to improve your life and open up a lot more doors as a result.
Okay, that's very helpful, Christina, and makes a lot of sense. Towards the end of this, it would be great to hear how to get in touch with your team. If there are newcomers watching this, or mid-career professionals, new job seekers that are looking to take advantage of these services, it would be great to learn a little bit more about how they can get in touch. And I'm also curious a bit about how you approach helping individuals who are trying to get into the workplace find opportunities. So when you switched over from, the chef role to your new role, how did you find opportunities in the new industry? Was it through people you knew? And what kind of things do you recommend to job seekers who are trying to do something similar when it comes to finding opportunities? Is it using LinkedIn? Is it, looking at job boards? What kind of strategies do you usually kind of lean on to find opportunities in the new field?
That's a very good question. I would have to say connect with individuals. I mean, who would you rather hire? Someone you know, or someone just coming off the street that you know nothing about? And resume alone is not enough. And resume is very, very important. To have a good resume does really help. And I feel it's also important to make sure that an individual, while writing a resume, is trying to make sure that they communicate not only what they have done, but who they are as an individual. And the resume would show the fact that this individual enjoys learning, training, and taking all the learning opportunities that are available to him or her. And that helps in having to present the individual as a person, as a professional, and as a result, having a good resume does help open more doors, because job search is not something that happens overnight. It's a process. So what happens is an individual finds a job that they are interested in, and then they create a resume based on that job with the skills and education that is required for this job. And then also cover letter is another thing that is very important, to personalize, to express yourself verbally and in writing, uh, who you are, what are your interests, what have you learned, a little bit about why you want to work there. And I feel like one of the major, major things that have helped me in gaining employment, when I did get a chance to have an interview, first of all, not take it personally if you don't get an interview, because you have no control over who else is interviewing alongside of you. But also just keep applying for jobs. And then when you do get the chance to interview, present yourself and make sure to express why you want to work in this field, why you want to have this job, why you are the best candidate possible. So all these components come together in communicating who you are as a professional, why you want to work there, and in every answer you to every interview question should resonate and have that theme of communicating why you want to work there and talking about you as a person and as a professional, and having to incorporate not only why you want this job because you want to pay the bills, because your family needs money, or you need to pay for your cover your rent, but because you really are the best person, and because what it means to you. Something along the lines of Simon Sinek talks a lot about why, finding your why, and tapping into something a little deeper than just your immediate needs. But for me, I want to help people. I want to eliminate and support individuals from having to fall into the pits that I fell into, and taking many years of trying to figure out your career path versus doing an assessment, working with someone, having that support, hand holding. And every person requires different amount of hand holding through the counselor. And I will tell you myself, I was job searching during a pandemic, and it took me many months to find a job. And I'm an individual who teaches others how to job search and how to write resume and so forth. And I work with employment counselor myself because we all need support. It's not a question of one person needs it, the other does not. It comes down to self motivation and driven, and I believe that motivation is intrinsic. So I don't believe anyone has the ability to motivate anybody else, because it does come from within. But inspire through your actions and through your behavior and through you taking the lead in your own life will inspire others to do well, and to take that next step. Maybe be scared, be nervous, be worried, but do it anyway. And that's, I think, is the definition of bravery in my eyes.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great way to put it, Christina. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people because I know they are nervous and worried about taking some of those next steps, but I couldn't agree more. You have to just do it anyways, and you'll learn as you go. And like you said earlier, there'll be times where you don't get the next interview or the job itself. But it's important not to take that personally, and to continue on and to be persistent. And I'm glad you mentioned, that it took months to kind of get that role during the pandemic because I think that's helpful for people to know how long it can take. Um, do you have any other kind of insights on that? Like how long, does it take most people to find a new role? Is it a few months or does it take longer than that sometimes? Any further insights on that one? I think it's helpful to know.
Absolutely. Well, I think it very much depends on the labor market. And I think to kind of decode these words, and sometimes newcomers are not sure what does it mean. Labor market is just job availability. Really, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Where are the jobs available? What kind of jobs are available? And it depends on that, and depends on how many jobs you're applying for. What are your interviewing skills like? Did you prepare your resume and customize it and prepare it based on the job you're applying for? And gaining focus. I look at job search and having to prepare your resume, prepare yourself for the job. A process of acquiring employment is like having a GPS, putting in the actual direct address of where you're going, and it's like the sharper the focus, the more likely you are to find it faster, because you are ready. You know exactly what you want. You know exactly where you're going, leaving the house. You plug in the address, and then you go exactly in the most direct and the fastest route possible. And it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. I know it's very difficult to see it in that way, but that's the reality of things. It's a process, and it starts with having to do the job search. Then you find the job, then you apply for it, and kind of it's helps you identify where are the gaps and where are the struggles. Because what happens is you applied for the job, you did not hear back from them, that means the resume is not working. But if you do get the actual call back and you're invited to the interview, which means that the resume is working, then you go to the interview, and after the interview, nobody calls you back. That means maybe you didn't interview well.
Right.
Yes, aside from the external factors, maybe someone else is a better fit, but the resume is not there to get you the job. The resume is there to make the individual, the employer, to want to meet you. It's an introduction. So considering all this is important. Then once you actually get the interview, and then they call you back, that's when the negotiation starts. And then they say, okay, yes, we want to offer you the job. You did really well, and we want to hire you. So at that point, that's when you start negotiating, and you always ask, what's the worst that can happen? They're going to say no. Is there room for negotiation? Just ask that question. And one other thing I would also recommend, when you do go for an interview, make sure you do ask for your own mental well-being and health. When can I expect to hear back from you? Because they may be in the very beginning of the interviewing process and you may not hear from them for a week. But under no circumstances, until you accept the job, um, you do not stop job searching. You keep going, you keep asking, you keep applying, and you log all the information. You keep the job posting for yourself, and get the names of the individuals who interviewed you. Send them the thank you letter. This is sometimes all that distinguishes you from other individuals. And I have been in a position where individuals having to talk to the employer, and they said that we have interviewed 20 people. Out of these 20 people, only one person sent a thank you letter, and that's the person who we hired.
Wow. Oh, what a great tip, Christina. And it's such a small thing, but it's
Absolutely.
meaningful because these are other people, right? They're not just gatekeepers. They're other people that you're gonna potentially work with and spend time with. Um, so super helpful to know the thank you goes a long way, but also that it's okay to ask when you can expect to hear back. Because I think a lot of job seekers end up leaving those interviews wondering that.
Mhm.
Are there any things that we should not ask in an interview setting? Any things like that coming to mind, things that might not be a good idea?
Well, we recommend to not ask about pay from the get-go, just because you are not ready to negotiate just yet. You haven't gotten it. You have not been accepted into the position, and
Got
you
it.
don't want to communicate that your sole need for this job is just the pay, although it may be true. But kind of don't start there, or wait until you are given the opportunity. You can ask about the job itself, and make sure that you are aware of what it entails to be working for this organization. Do your due diligence, research the position, research the industry, go to the interview prepared. And when you're going to need all that information when you write a resume and cover letter, have the list of the organizations that you're interested in. And one other thing you mentioned earlier, that about what else you could do to maximize your opportunities, do your networking. And that does not necessarily mean only connecting with individuals in your line of work, but outside of it, anything pertaining to something. In some ways, everything is interconnected. So find a way that may work. Maybe employment counseling is needed, pairing maybe two different themes. That intersection of having to work in one area and another, for me, it may possibly be something along the lines of cooking and employment counseling.
Huh.
And there's just an idea, but the two
Yeah.
completely different themes. I worked in banking before, maybe having to understand banking system and having to advise clients on finances and how to build credit and things like this. So it all kind of comes together, and because everything is interconnected. But that's kind of my idea and the way I work. But at the end of the day, we're all people trying to do our very best that we possibly can, considering all the difficulties and struggles that we have every day. And we're all doing our best, and acknowledge that, and empathize with others. And that really helps.
I think that's such a good reminder for job seekers as well as, hey, you're doing your best. It takes time. It's a process, like Kristina has reminded us here. And thank you again, Kristina, for your time today. I know we're almost at the end of what I asked you for. Um, I just have one more quick question, if you don't mind. It's just kind of around, what kind of trends are you seeing? Are there things that um, job seekers should be aware of, skills that are becoming more in demand that we can maybe, look for education around or get a little bit better at because they're being asked for in the workforce right now? Anything like that coming to mind?
Absolutely. Well, from the pandemic, we have seen a huge increase in medical field, uh, PSWs, doctors, and nurses, and any medical field is really any professions in medical field really do they're in demand. IT is another one I would have to say. Um, I would not suggest you just look at the fact that it's in demand, but seek within yourself what is it that you want to do and be the best that you can be in your role. Because at the end of the day, if you're really great at what you do, you will always find a way to either start your own business or work for somebody else or in some capacity. And it will work out. One other thing I would also suggest for individuals is to do some connect with other individuals through professional development and connect with other organizations, professional associations. Join them, connect with them. That will help you really stay connected to always learn about what is out there, what kind of opportunities are out there for you, what are other people in your field doing. And
Right.
there are always learning all kinds of workshops and webinars available you can attend, and they will come to you with information about what is available. You don't even have to seek and research. They will send you, we're having a workshop, we're having a webinar, come join us and learn, and that way you become more marketable. So at the end of the day, concentrate on yourself as much as possible in improving your skills and being the best that you can be in your field.
Such a valuable reminder, Christina. Such a true point, not just about what's in demand, but what is important to you. And I really appreciate the tip on the associations as well. It's a great way to stay up to date. Um, I know we're at the time that I asked you for today, so I just want to say thank you again for all these insights, for sharing your recommendations and your story with us. If there are listeners who are watching this and they want to get in touch with you or learn more about the work you're doing, what's the best way to learn more?
Well, I'm happy to share with you my information, contact information, and that way you are welcome to share it with the viewers. And
Okay.
I truly do wish you best of luck. I'm so very happy and very grateful to be here with you today, and look forward to seeing more of what is to come for you.
Thank you very much, Christina. And I hope you have an amazing weekend. Thank you again for being with me today. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
Bye. You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.